Today we're going to factor trinomials when a is not equal to 1. So let's take a moment to look back and see what happens when a is equal to 1. So when I do these problems here, x squared plus 6x minus 16, and I want to factor this, I notice that I'm going to go ahead and find the factors that multiply to negative 16 and add to positive 6. Negative 16, positive 6. So the two numbers that multiply to negative 16 and add to positive 6 are positive 8 and negative 2. So we're going to write those as our factors then. X plus 8 and x minus 2. And that's our answer. And if we were to FOIL this out, we would see it does match the original problem. So the examples that we're going to do today, though, these have an a value that's not equal to 1. Because if we look at here, a is equal to 1. The examples we're going to do today, a is not equal to 1. So we have to use a process called either the swing method or sometimes it's known as divide and slide. Divide and slide. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's look at our first example. 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. So the first thing we want to do to begin is take the a value, which is in this case 2, and we're going to multiply it times the positive 15, which is our c value, and that equals 30. That's the number we're going to use as our multiplying number in our little x here. The middle term is still 13, so we're going to keep the positive 13 as our add number. So we want to find the factors that multiply to 30 and add to 13. And that would be positive 3 and positive 10. So we're going to go ahead and set up x plus 3 times x plus 10. But this is not our final answer. If I were to FOIL this out, I would get x squared plus 13x plus 30. That does not match my problem here. So I need to keep going. So in order to do this, we're going to go ahead and take this a value, the positive 2, and we're going to swing it down to the bottom and divide both our factors by that a value. Now we're going to go ahead and do our division and then slide. So 3 divided by 2 does not reduce and it does not go evenly. So instead we're going to go ahead and take that 2 and we're going to slide it up and it goes inside the parentheses and becomes the coefficient of x. So this factor now is 2x plus 3. And then the same thing here, we go ahead and do our divide. 10 divided by 2 goes evenly. It goes in 5 times. So that becomes x plus 5. And now everything's been simplified, and if I go ahead and FOIL, I would FOIL this out and I would end up getting 2x plus 13x plus 15. Let's look at example B. Same thing, we're going to go ahead and take the a value and multiply it first times the negative 5, and that becomes negative 15. That's going to go into our x as our multiply number. The middle term still comes down as our add number. So what two numbers multiply to negative 15 and add to positive 2? Positive 5 and negative 3. So we write those first. Y plus 5 times y minus 3. But we can't stop there. If we stop there, it's like walking out the door without our pants on. We need to go ahead and bring the a value down and divide and slide. So the 3 comes all the way down. 5 divided by 3 does not reduce any further. So the 3 is going to go ahead and slide and become the coefficient inside the parentheses with that y term. So it becomes 3y plus 5. The 3 and 3 do reduce, they do divide, and it becomes a 1. So that becomes y minus 1. And there is my final answer. And again, I could use FOIL to distribute this out to check my answer. Okay, example C. Let's go ahead and multiply. The 10 times the negative 6 is negative 60. So that's going to be our multiply number. Negative 11 comes down. So we want to find the numbers that multiply to negative 60 and add to negative 11. So 60 is a big number, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little t-chart out here and list all of the factors of 60. So I know it's 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, and 6 times 10. Those are all the factors of 60. So when I look at this pair, I'm looking for a pair that technically will subtract to become negative 11. So yeah, that pair is 4 and 15. So in order for them to subtract to become negative 11, I need a negative 15 and a positive 4. So we're going to go ahead and list those here. X minus 15 times x plus 4. Now we do our divide and slide steps. So we're going to take our a value, bring it under, divide by 10, divide by 10. Now, when I notice this division, nothing goes in evenly. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce both of those fractions. So I look at the 15 over 10. I can divide both those numbers by 5, so that gives me 3 over 2. I'm just reducing that fraction. 4 over 10, I can divide both of those numbers by 2, so that becomes 2 over 5. So let me just make a note. I reduced here. Okay, now that I've reduced, now I can go ahead and take that a value, the denominator, of that fraction and slide it up, swing it up, and again slide this one up and bring that up. And this step here is going to help us later as we do more with solving quadratics and looking for roots of quadratics. This is an important step right here that we just did, so we really need to see that step. But for the purpose of finding factors, the factors we want to write out are 2x minus 3 and 5x plus 2. Okay, and the last problem. So let's go ahead and multiply. 12 times negative 4 is negative 48. And my middle term is positive 13. So what two numbers multiply to 48 that add to positive 13? Again, we might want to go ahead and make a little t-chart here. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12, 6, and 8. 6 times 8. So which pair is going to give me a 13? So it looks like I have a 3 and 16 there. Now, be careful with your signs here. This needs to be a positive 13, so I need a positive 16 with a negative 3. So I'm going to write x plus 16 times x minus 3. Okay, now we need to make sure we don't walk out the door without our pants on, so we're going to go ahead and take the a value and we're going to divide by 12. Nothing divides evenly, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce. Reduce. Both of the fractions need to be reduced. So I can divide from 16 and 12, I can divide both those by a 4. So it's x plus 4/3. And then from the 3 and the 12, I can divide both those by 3. So it's x minus 1/4. Then I take the denominators here and those slide. Denominator slides. Divide and slide. So my factors now are 3x plus 4 times 4x minus 1. And again, I could use FOIL to check to see if that answer works. And it will. It'll FOIL out and become the original problem. Okay. If you have any questions, please talk to your teacher.